Hello and welcome back to your Pennsylvania Dutch Minute. I have a cultural video today about our upcoming holiday of Easter and some of the traditions that the Pennsylvania Dutch have for this holiday, and some of the things that we do and how we celebrate. So let's jump right into it, and we're actually going to talk about all of the days associated with Holy Week, because for each of those days, the Pennsylvania Dutch kind of have something. Well, at least for the three big days, we have traditions that are associated with. And we're going to start with what in English is called Maundy Thursday. This is the Thursday before Easter. In Pennsylvania Dutch, that's called Griedunnerschdaag, Griedunnerschdaag, or literally Green Thursday. And the tradition among the Pennsylvania Dutch is that you have to eat something green on that day. Traditionally, it should be dandelion. Usually at that point in the year, that's about the only green thing that's out there growing. You'll have dandelion in your yard. For those of you that have never eaten dandelion before, we don't eat the yellow flower part. In fact, you should be picking the dandelion before it actually flowers. You're actually going out and picking just the green leaves, and then you clean them and you eat them as a salad. Now, the longer you wait, the more bitter they become. That's why at this time of year, they're fresh, they're young, and they actually have a great taste. They're extremely healthy. Traditionally, most Pennsylvania Dutch will eat them as a salad with hard-boiled eggs and hot bacon dressing served over top of it. The tradition was that if you ate something green on Griedunnerschdaag, then it would bring you good health throughout the year. So if you see some of your neighbors out in their yards looking like they're picking something from the grass, they most likely are hunting dandelion. Get out there and help them, and maybe you'll learn a little bit more about the tradition. The day after Griedunnerschdaag is Good Friday, and in Pennsylvania Dutch language that is Karfeidaag, Karfeidaag. I have two traditions that I'd like to share with you. One cultural tradition, and I don't know how many Pennsylvania Dutch still believe this or not, is the fact that I guess years and years ago it was said among the Pennsylvania Dutch that if you swept all of the rooms of your house on Good Friday and collected the dirt, the dust that you swept up and burned it all, it would bring you good luck throughout the year. Now, this was, of course, just a superstition. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. Another tradition, and this was something that my family, I remember growing up, and this sticks in my mind, was that it was believed that you shouldn't work the ground between Good Friday and Easter for those 3 days, in connection with the fact that Christ laid buried in the tomb for those 3 days. My family always said that if you did try and plant anything in that time period, it would not produce. That was just, and I don't know if that's a tradition among other Pennsylvania Dutch families or not, but I know that among some Pennsylvania Dutch, the idea is that you shouldn't work the ground on Good Friday. So that's another one that I'll associate to us, the Pennsylvania Dutch. So we don't really have anything special that I know of for Saturday, the Saturday between Good Friday and Easter. But then we get to actual Easter Sunday, and in the dialect that is Oschder, Oschder. And the two most well-known items that are associated with Easter outside of the religious icons and so forth would have to be Easter eggs and the Easter bunny or the Easter rabbit. So let's talk about those two things. The word for Easter eggs are Oschderoier, Oschderoier in the dialect. And we really have to go way back in time. This isn't something that the Pennsylvania Dutch came up with. I mean, the idea that eggs, throughout history, eggs have been a traditional symbol of fertility and rebirth, which is exactly what Easter is celebrating. For some cultures, the Easter egg symbolizes the empty tomb of Christ, from which he was resurrected. The idea of coloring Easter eggs also is not purely Pennsylvania Dutch. There are other Christian cultures, specifically in the Eastern Orthodox Church, that have always colored eggs as well. There are some reasons why. This was a tradition that we brought back, not brought back, but brought from Europe to Pennsylvania, because Germans were coloring eggs as well around Easter time, before the immigration to the New World. Here in Pennsylvania Dutch country throughout the 17 and 1800s and even into the 1900s, this is a tradition that I remember seeing my grandmother do. Today you can buy dyes and so forth to color your Easter eggs, but traditionally the Pennsylvania Dutch used flowers if there were any available. But another thing that my grandmother did was she colored her Easter eggs with onion skins. I remember watching her do that and helping with her as a child. That to me is probably the most traditional way of coloring eggs, using the onion skins. And then, of course, the tradition of hiding eggs and hunting for them is something that the Pennsylvania Dutch also, carried out. And those are all things that are found in common day American culture today associated with Easter. And let's talk about the Easter Bunny. So the Easter Bunny in Pennsylvania Dutch is Oschderhaas. Oschderhaas. And again, this is something like eggs that goes way back in history, throughout many cultures and throughout history. The rabbit, the hare, has always been has been something that's been linked to the idea of uh, birth and new life, because a rabbit, as many of you know, are prolific breeders. Fact is, female hares can conceive a second litter of offspring while still pregnant with the first. Um, Therefore, they became this sign of fertility and birth and new life. And it was quickly associated, early Christians quickly associated the rabbit with Easter, since it had that same kind of um, idea of rebirth and having, bringing litters and bringing new life. In Germany, there's a famous window in the city of Paderborn, which is actually the city where I was lucky enough to study abroad in. So I walked past this window quite often. As the idea of the rabbit got associated with Christianity and with rebirth. It also the artist took this idea that carved this window called the drei Hasefenster, the three rabbit window, and as you can see here in the picture, there are three rabbits. There appear to only be three ears, but when you look at it, each rabbit has two ears. I always thought that was really neat. So it's just another way that the Germans, took the rabbit and associated it with Christianity and with the Holy Trinity, really. Okay, and the first time that we have, as far as I could find, the first depiction of an Easter bunny here in the United States was in the 1790s. It's this image here, and it comes from a publication, a newspaper out of eastern Lancaster County. So as early as the 1790s, the Pennsylvania Dutch were incorporating, or bringing that tradition of Easter rabbits to the New World, and then not only bringing it, but also continually observing that. So there are just a couple things about Easter. I'll leave you with the phrase that we say in Pennsylvania Dutch to wish somebody a happy Easter, and that is Halliche Oschder. Halliche Oschder. And after watching this video, if your Pennsylvania Dutch family carries out traditions that I didn't mention, please feel free to leave them in the comment section underneath the video so that others can see. Maybe you have memories of dyeing eggs with your grandparents, or you still carry on the tradition of using onion skins. But please share those ideas. That's great for us to see what other Pennsylvania Dutch families, how they carried out those traditions. Maybe your family also didn't plant anything or work the ground. Do you remember that as a child from hearing your grandparents say it? One other thing that sticks in my mind, and this, I don't know how widespread this custom was, but it was something that my family did. It is believed that Jesus died at around 3 p.m. in the afternoon on Good Friday, and I know that my grandparents were always said that, at 3 o'clock on Good Friday, you should stop what you're doing and observe a moment of silence, I guess, was the best way of putting it, in memory of or in commemoration of Christ dying. I don't know if that necessarily is a Pennsylvania Dutch tradition. That's maybe just something my family did. I'm not sure about that. If you have a similar memory to that, please share that also in the comment section. If you have ideas for future videos, my email's at the end. Please send an email and I'll get working on those. But until next time, I wish you and your family a very blessed Easter, a happy Easter if you celebrate. Halliche Oschder. Keep practicing your Pennsylvania Dutch, and Max gut.